Hello, it's Tracy Jackson, also known as the Spiritual Cheerleader, coming to you this week with your tip. And this week's tip is concerning one of my favorite spiritual tools, oracle cards, which I haven't really gone into depth about in the little tip segments that I've been sharing. But I can't not talk about oracle cards because they're literally my favorites. We're actually going to do a bit of a series of tips concerning oracle cards. So obviously, if you're interested in that, feel free to make sure you're subscribed so that you get all of the videos in there. I'm going to be sharing some of my tips for how I get accurate readings, how I do readings, how I prepare my deck, all of that stuff over the course of the next couple of weeks. But this first week, I really wanted to speak to the whole idea of oracle cards, how I got into oracle cards, and what allowed me to kind of lose that fear that I had around using oracle cards, especially coming from a very religious upbringing. So just to kind of give you a quick background, I grew up Baptist in Alabama, which I don't know if you can get more conservative than that. My grandmother wouldn't let us play Monopoly because she considered that gambling. So many times, I couldn't play cards or anything remotely like that. So pulling an oracle card was really, really taboo. That was just So when it first was presented to me, I had just finished reading the book The Universe Has Your Back by Gabby Bernstein. In that book, Gabby had kind of referenced both Doreen Virtue and Colette Baron-Reid, who are big oracle card experts, and I was intrigued, but I was like, I don't know. And in reading that book, Gabby offered a book club where you could become a member of this book club and, kind of meet like-minded people who are reading the book as well. So I joined the book club, and in the book club, somebody offered to pull cards for people in the club. And so I decided to get cards pulled for me because I was trying to make this big decision on whether or not to sign up for this new coaching school. And the girl said, I'm going to pull cards from my unicorns deck. And I was like, well, unicorns can't be bad. So I'm going to ask her this question about whether or not she thinks, I should move forward with this. Like, I have this decision or whatever. And so the cards she pulled for me really were telling me to kind of focus on what I was doing right then, to take a little step back and not be in so much of a hurry to sign up for this next thing, to just really kind of see where things fell before I move forward in signing up for it. And I was like, okay, cool. So I ended up not doing it. Lo and behold, best decision ever, because I don't even do health coaching at all now. So it was a complete and utter blessing. And because of that, I became super intrigued in the whole idea of cards. And so because I was still very fearful, I tried to find cards. I remember seeing Colette's deck, The Wisdom of the Oracle, and being like, that still freaks me out a little bit. So I went to Doreen Virtue's Daily Guidance from Your Angels because I was like, there's angels in the Bible, so I'm not doing anything wrong. Angels, right? And once I started working with the deck on my own, I started opening not only my heart but my mind to see that these cards were just really helping me to become more expansive, more loving. And that's really the goal of Christianity. I mean, that's what Jesus sent us here to do. The two greatest commandments were, love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, and spirit, but also love your neighbor as yourself, right? And so I was feeling like I'm actually, feeling the feelings that he espoused, like this. I'm doing it now. I feel like I'm in right alignment, not only with him, but, with where I'm supposed to be on the path. And so that made me get comfortable with it, because I was like, this is love and this is love. But nobody had confirmed that for me at that time. That was kind of how I felt in my heart. And I remember having someone ask me that, like, oh my God, you're pulling cards. Like, I thought you said you loved Jesus. And I was like, but Jesus was about love and the cards are about love. So I don't see any difference. This is just my way of hearing from him versus your way of hearing from him. And I don't remember him dictating that we had to hear from him in a certain way, right? So, again, none of that had been confirmed for me. Well, when I joined Oracle School with Colette Baron-Reid, she really opened me up to learning more about the history of divination and how divination, this idea of pulling cards, or, going to the fortune teller, or, working with anything, psychics, mediums, all of that, how that all became bad. And she talked about the culture of the time, was very, it was centered on these natural healers, right? These women who would, read bones, or, read, birds. Like, that was one of the first ways that they would do. They would look at birds and different things and, like, pronounce and prophecy based on the birds. And they would do all this, but it was kind of a local business. Like, the lady down the street does it. Go, if you've got a problem, go to the lady down the street. Well, when, the Jewish religion, and I don't want to, like, isolate it to the Jewish religion or Christianity or any of those religions. All organized religion, in order to organize, they had to make central houses, temples, churches for people to go to. And in order to get people to come to the central place, rather than going to the lady down the street, I got to make the lady down the street look like she's the one that's doing something wrong. So I ban it. I say, don't go to the lady down the street because she's talking to the devil. If you really want to know what God's telling you, come to the church, right? That's the only way I can get people to come further to talk or commune with the divine. I have to tell them that she doesn't have that power. The only people that have that power are people that have been, blessed or ordained by God, right? And that hit me as a truth. I mean, it made my reading of the Bible make more sense, because that was something that I always found very, very interesting. Especially, from people that don't know, Christianity borrows a lot from Judaism. The first 5 books of the Bible are basically the Jewish Torah. And so in the Jewish law, the only ones who could work in the temple were those who were of the tribe of Levi, right? And it going all the way, back, the Levites were the people who came, Joseph from Genesis. I don't know if you guys know Joseph from Genesis, the one that had the coat of many colors. He had a brother named Levi. Levi had descendants of Moses and Aaron. They were Levites. And Aaron was put in charge as priest of the temple. And so basically, he and his family members were the priest of the temple. They were it. The only people that could worship or to actually serve as priests in the temple were Levites. That was it. Nobody else. Only the Levites, right? And so when I hear this and I'm like, okay, so only the Levites can serve. There's 11 other tribes, guys. There were 12 tribes of Israel. There's 11 others, and only one of them can go in the temple? Okay. All right. All right. So it made sense to me when she told me this whole idea of the history of divination and how it became forbidden for these natural healers and mediums and psychics to commune with God, because it was said that basically only this group is the one that can commune with God. And that kind of continues throughout. Like, I mean, even in Joseph's time, Joseph, his story is in Genesis. The story of Moses and Aaron really doesn't begin till Exodus, which is later. Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, right? So so the story of Joseph kind of talks about these other gods and things that they had, and it talks about, breaking down these foreign idols and worshiping the God in heaven and all that other good stuff. And I'm digressing way too much here, but literally that's what ended up, that felt true to me. That whole idea that this other thing would be demonized, because of course, if they're gonna get people to travel to make offering at a temple that is centrally located rather than right down the street or next door, I gotta make that next door thing look like there's something wrong with it. So that's really what happened in the realm of divination. It was demonized, it was made bad, because they were really trying to start off these religions. They were trying to organize people. They were trying to get people an incentive, or give people an incentive to travel to offer, because they would say this one's right, that one's wrong. And over the course of centuries that we've gone through later, we're still doing it, right? We still look at people who, pull cards or whatever in a negative way, and that a lot of times kind of stops people from moving forward with it. And I just really wanted to speak to that and break that barrier down and tell you, like, for me, the thing that was true for me, and it may not be true for you, but the thing that made me feel comfortable with pulling cards was the fact that I felt like I was becoming more expansive. I was becoming more open to love. I was, opening my mind to understanding things in a completely different way, shifting perspectives from that fearful mindset to a more loving mindset. And I was able to do that with cards. And to me, that is exactly what my higher power kind of served to do. I mean, that's the whole, impetus and, culmination of his ministry, was to open people's eyes to see things in a different way than what they were seeing them, and to move away from that legalistic way to being more open and really recognizing that everyone had the power, not just these people who had been in power for so long, right? That's why the Sadducees and the Pharisees did not like Jesus, because they were the ones in power, and he was basically saying, like, they don't need you. Like, they don't need you. They can go straight to him, right? They don't need you. So I hope that helps you guys this week with kind of becoming a little bit more interested in oracle cards and kind of opening yourself up to learning a little bit more. Obviously, like I said, I'm going to be coming on with more information, talking to you guys about preparing your deck, choosing decks that might be, good for you to start off with, as well as, asking the right question and all that good stuff. And hopefully you will continue to hang out with me as we go through each week for the next few weeks on oracle cards in our tip section. And I hope that you will subscribe so that you don't miss anything. And obviously, I would love to hear from you if you have a story on oracle cards, if you resonate with my story in any way, or if you feel more open to learning. Let me know. I'll also include the information for my Oracle Basics Guide. It's typically in my Card of the Week video each week, and I'll probably include one of my Card of the Week videos just so that you'll see it there. And I don't necessarily have to include it in the description here. But I hope to see you guys again soon. Feel free to give me a thumbs up if this resonated, like I said. Feel free to subscribe, leave me a comment. I'd love to hear from you, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.